Hello everyone. In this video of Salesforce testing with Virtuoso, we will be covering some additional natural language programming best practices to interact with the input fields in the Salesforce. Probably this will be working for any of the objects you can see in Salesforce, including models and forms. In our earlier video, we have discussed natural language programming best practices, which have already covered the best practices to work on the Salesforce, and the link is at the top. This video will majorly concentrate on interacting with the input fields in Salesforce. So let's get started. Let me jump to an active journey where I can show the authoring in action. This is my journey. I have navigated to the Salesforce, logged in, and moved to the contact tab. So let's move to a step to create a new contact. I'll just set a checkpoint with the name create new contact. I'll just say click on new. So suppose we are creating a contact with the help of our earlier best practices. So we observed some challenge in interacting with the last name field. So let's quickly have a look. The earlier best practices were in this way. Look for first name, click on first name, write any name in input. So we observe that it has correctly interacted with the first name field. Now if we implement same practices for the last name field, let's have a look. Look for last name, click on last name, write any last name in input. So we have observed the bot has interacted with the first name field rather than the last name field. To resolve this issue, we have come up with the additional best practices, which would be in such a way, which will start with look for last name, click on last name, write new last name in the input last name. So you can observe in this way we have added our input field with the last name as a label. So now we can observe the bot has interacted with the correct field. So this was a one way how you can interact with the last name field. Similarly, as we are aware that you can style the HTML input elements to align with a Salesforce brand by using SLDS-input class. So you can even use SLDS-input to interact with the input fields in Salesforce. For example, we can just write modified last name in SLDS input. So we can see the tool has interacted with the exact element on the screen. This solution will be applicable and will be working for all objects across the Salesforce, including models and forms. Let me show an example how we can interact with the solution with models. So as we create a new account inside a new contact, it opens up a model. Let me open up a model. We'll create a checkpoint with a name model. I will navigate to create a new account inside new contact page by saying look for account name, click on search accounts, look for new account, click on new account. This opens up a model. Now I will show how we can interact with the models with the help of our solution. Look for account name, click on account name, write any account name in input account name, and we see it worked perfectly fine. Similarly, to interact with the phone input field as well, look for phone, click on phone, write any number in input phone, and we see it worked perfectly fine. So now to summarize what we saw in this video, basically with reference to our earlier video on natural language programming best practices to interact with Salesforce, we have come up with additional best practices that will be required to interact with the input fields on the Salesforce application for different objectives. So the earlier best practices were look for any element on the page. Like for example, look for first name on the page. Click on any element. For example, click on first name. Add any data in the input. So for the additional best practices, the sequence remains the same. Look, click, and write. But we have come up with additional two methods which could be used to interact with the input fields. So the priority one would be to go with write any data in the input, and in case this faces any challenges, the priority two would be to write any data in the input first name with specifying the input type and the label. And at last, we can also use write any data in the SLDS input. Thank you. Hope you like this video.